The only one who knows this ounce of words is just a token is he who has a tongue to tell that must remain unspoken.
Rayman 2 is probably the most interesting game I've ever talked about on this channel, not only for its unique take on game and level design, but also because of its legacy as one of the most beloved platformers of all time. It's a game I remember from my childhood very clearly. I played it, I beat it, I thought it was alright. But this was 1999. I had already played a dozen games that I don't think Rayman 2 ever came close to touching. As such, it always sort of confused me that there seemed to be so many people propping it up as the pinnacle of the platforming genre. But it wasn't until recently that I even found out that the version I played on the PlayStation was the bad one. And so basically, I never played it at all. So we're going back to the past. Hi, I'm Furious Action Gamer. And today, we're going to discover why Rayman 2 is the greatest platforming game ever made. Just kidding, it sucks. Now, for the sake of this review, we're going with Rayman creator Michel Ancel's pick for the definitive version of the game on the Dreamcast. But before we really get started, let me explain something. I'm not a gamer. I am a video game hobbyist. That means I've played more games than you have, and I understand games at a much deeper level than you ever thought to. So let me cut to the chase. I do not think Rayman 2 on PS1 or Dreamcast is a good game. The people way back in 1999 wrote all sorts of favorable reviews, like IGN's Brandon Justice, who called the game the most impressive feat of game design and execution the platforming genre has ever seen. What a line. Someone wrote that in a post-Mario 64 world. Incredible. It harkens back to that Miyamoto quote on Donkey Kong Country, where he is alleged to have said that Donkey Kong Country proves gamers will put up with mediocre gameplay if the art is good. I say alleged because I am certain that it's not true. He didn't say that. This urban myth has survived for so long because people want to believe that that's what he said. And my point is, regardless of who authored this quote, Rayman 2 proves the words themselves to be absolutely right, because pretty much all the game has going for it is its graphics. So what's the deal with this game? What's so bad about it? How can everybody be wrong? It's chock full of variety, and that's the problem. Gamers are, I'm just gonna say it. Gamers are below average IQ troglodytes who would prefer to do a whole bunch of different, poorly made stuff instead of doing one perfect thing. Rayman 2 is a fine platformer. That's not the problem. The problem is, while I'm not going to do this kind of research, I feel like I can confidently say that platforming is probably around half of what you spend all your time doing. Other variety in your activities include slowly carrying heavy shit and unwieldy vehicle sections. Several of the pure platforming levels are these chase sequences where a pirate ship shoots at you with cannons, and you have to run along these shoddy boardwalks that use nonsense rules. In a video game, when a platform is shaking, that means it's about to fall. That's universal, but it does not apply to this game. Sometimes you run along a boardwalk, it shakes and nothing happens. Sometimes you're running, and in most games you might see the shadow of a cannonball a moment before impact, but in Rayman 2, you're running along this thing that just dumps you to your death. Death, of course, means very little, because once your giant life bar is finally empty, you just start back at a checkpoint anyway, so what's the point? These walking tank shell creatures are rockets with legs. And to ride them, you have to let them chase you in circles until they get tired. So every time you fail because you missed a collectible or something, you have to spend 10 seconds running around like an idiot instead of just being able to try again. And that's all I have to say about this game. I cannot stand to stretch my thoughts about Rayman 2 further than that. It's maybe 5 hours long, probably 8 if you are trying to 100% it. And so at least it doesn't overstay its welcome, but nothing ever builds. Since you're always doing something new and different, there is no progression of gameplay. It's like playing a weird anthology platformer. It's a sample pack of a real game. There's this interesting Double Fine interview Let's Play thing where they play Rayman 2 with the game's director Michel Ancel, and this one bit really stuck out to me.
And we wanted to prove that it was possible to make games like that with 6 people. So we started, apart from the official development, we started a prototype with a very small team doing the engine and everything from scratch, just to prove that it was possible to make this game. So the first playable version of Rayman in 3D was this kind of demonstration. Look, we can do something. We don't need to be 100 of people. And
you had to fight within the company to stay small.
Yeah, exactly.
I was always fighting to get more people put on my team. That's pretty amazing. How long did you stay 6 people?
I think we stayed like that for a couple of months, and then some other people came and they helped us.
So who designed the levels of this game? Did you design a lot of them or all of them?
Yeah, I did those specifically those first levels were designed. We had the space. We are close to the level designers because they were very important to learn the game. So those early levels were really the ones we did and did again and again until it was fluid.
It seems like the main platforming stuff was made by like 6 people, and the team kept growing and new level designers with their own ideas kept coming on board, and so every hour of the game feels like it was made from a different team. And then they just disguise it all as variety, but there's very little cohesion to it all. And so Rayman 2 has a ton of fans despite all of this. And look, far be it for me to convince anyone that they don't actually love a game that they claim to. Every game is somebody's favorite game, from the bottom of the barrel bullshit to the cream of the crop. I'm curious myself as to where it all came from. When I got to the credits, this most recent playthrough on Dreamcast, my mouth was hanging open in shock. I was worried about everyone. This game seemed like it was for the truly deranged. Like there are some similarities that can be drawn from people with schizophrenia to these gamers praising a game that isn't even there. I mean, maybe like a big part of it is accidentally being exposed to horror through a kid's platform, because the atmosphere can absolutely be creepy. I remember a moment when I was a kid being horrified at this chase sequence as this monster's open mouth lined with razor-sharp teeth framed the entire screen as you're chased down a slide. In hindsight, that part sucked, but back then it got to me. Maybe the love people have for Rayman 2 is some sort of trauma bond in this case. I've even seen people go as far as to call the game itself a linear traversal game, because as a platformer, it's completely buried by better games. I guess the logic is that if you call it something else, then that elevates it to the top of a lonely pile, a shallow grave on hollowed ground. There are so many games that no one has time to reevaluate their feelings for, something from when they were 7 years old. There's especially not enough time to go back and try things for yourself. Everybody says Rayman 2 is the best game ever. I liked the few screenshots I saw, so maybe I'll take up that cause and I'll say it too. Gamers have universally terrible taste in the media they consume, and so I'm sure a big chunk of people who love the game are simple-minded people who say they also like to have fun. But I'm an optimist, so I'm going to give a fair amount of credit to people who are lying about what they like to fit in or just don't actually care. It reminds me a lot of this one song in Thunder Force 4. A shmup on Genesis, and in discussions about amazing video game music, this will get dropped more often than not, and people's faces melt off because it shreds so hard. But obviously, if you think for 2 seconds, this is not the song in the game itself. You go back and you listen to what it really sounds like, and it's this. But people don't care. They create their own realities in their heads, and that's what they like. Nobody likes Rayman 2. They like this weird video game tulpa they've been building for years, and it's like people are too afraid to say that it totally and completely sucks. Rayman 2 puts the A Man 2 in Gay Man 2.